Okay, so we are on our week 3 hyper doc. It says you need to watch video lecture 2, which you're starting right now, and then you need to take your notes while you're watching this video on your climate. So it should be page 8 or 9, depending on how your notebook got set up. Then we have our climate reading, and then we're going to be talking about the reason for this seasons. Why do we have winter? Why do we have summer? Okay, because there's scientific reasons behind that. And then step 3, your task. You have your climate quiz that you will need to take, showing what you know about climate. Okay, so we're going to be learning about climate. For this, you will need, while you're taking your notes, you're going to need a blue, yellow, and pink or red colored pencil. You can do it with marker. I'm just going to say that it might look a little bit messy if you do. Okay, so we're talking about climate. This is where you'll need to fill out your climate key, and you will need to fill out each part as well of your map. So climate, as we said before, they are patterns of weather over a period of time. So most of the world has a temperature climate with cold and warm seasons. Hot temperatures are near the equator, while the North and South Pole have very icy conditions all year long. Okay. So, for instance, Michigan, they definitely have a winter, so they get snow, they get rain, they get tornadoes, they get all of these things. Whereas here in Arizona, we typically have a desert climate, so we don't see those severe weather patterns. We just see things like dust storms or droughts, or it does get colder here, but it doesn't get into the negatives. Okay, so let's start with our polar climate. Okay, those are the upper parts, so you're going to want to label this polar and color it blue. And it's going to be your top layer in your north and your south. Okay, so the top and the bottom, North Pole, South Pole. Then we have our temperate climates, which are going to come after. So you'll see that much of the United States, aside from the upper parts, is temperate, in the lower parts, like Florida, lower part of Florida, and some of the part of Texas and some of California are tropical. They're near the equator, which means that they're quite warm. Okay, and then you'll get temperate again. So as you see, we kind of go in layers here. And the only layer of climate that is tropical is that near the equator. Okay, the equator is this line right here. It kind of cuts the earth in half, but not really. Okay, so we're going to go on. And before we start talking about the reason that we have seasons, which goes again with the seasons that you get and how severe you get them, is based on your climate, so whether you're tropical or temperate or polar, and how close you are to the equator. Okay, but we have a reading here that we need to begin first. So we have our climate reading, which is really just what your quiz is based off of, and goes over what climate is a little bit more in depth. Okay, climate. Weather changes from day to day. However, the weather tends to follow a pattern throughout the year. For example, Fairbanks, Alaska has long, cold winter and very short summers. Miami, Florida has a very long, hot summer and very mild winter. When we're talking about mild, we're talking 50, 60, 70, 80 degree weather. When you make descriptions such as these, it's describing the climate of an area. Climate is the average weather pattern of a specific region. Climates are described in a variety of ways. One way is by using temperature precipitation graphs. Other ways are using such factors as wind speed, distance from the coast, mountain ranges, and ocean currents. Still, another way is by studying the plants that grow in the area, such as grasslands, rainforests, or regular forests. Each kind of plant needs its own conditions to grow, such as sunlight, account, climate zones, and they're forecasted and established for specific reasons. Oh, nope, I totally skipped a line. Let's go back up here. Still another way by studying the plants that grow in an area, such as grasslands, rainforests, or forests. Each kind of plant needs its own conditions to grow, such as sunlight, rain, temperature, and soil. When all of these factors are taken into account, climate zones are forecasted and established for specific regions. There are several things that affect the climate over periods of time. Latitude is the measure of how far north or south a place is from the equator, and places its location. Places further away from the equator are colder, and temperature affects the climate. Bodies of water affect the climate. Most of the globe is covered with water, yet there are places on land that are 1,000 miles from the nearest water. Because the sun warms the land faster than it does the water, those areas furthest from the water have a higher temperature climate because the air temperature is higher over land. Tradewinds affect the climate. These are not the day-to-day winds, but those winds that blow continually. They are westerly or easterly winds. These winds bring warm or cool air into areas and cause the climate to change. These winds also move water across the surface of the ocean. As ocean water moves, warm or cool air moves with it. Altitude is the measure of how high above sea level a place is. The higher a place is above sea level, the cooler its climate is. Mountain ranges affect climate too. The higher mountains protect areas from polar winds, causing the climates to remain a little bit warmer. And rain patterns are affected by the mountains. Rain clouds may form and drop moisture on that side of the mountain. One side of a mountain may get plenty of rain, while the other side may get very little. As air passes over a mountain, it cools, causing the other side to get that cool air. The air reaching the other side may also be dry, changing the climate. For many reasons, the climate on one side of a mountain may differ from that on the other side. It's just like if you've ever been standing on one side of the street and it wasn't raining, and then you stand on the other side and it is raining. That happened quite a bit in Michigan. I have yet to experience it while here in Arizona. Weather changes from day to day and from place to place. Because of those changes, the climate changes as well. Some climates remain warm while others remain cool. Some receive rain while others remain dry. Global conditions such as wind, temperature, latitude, altitude, mountain ranges, bodies of water, ocean currents, and wind patterns all play a vital role in the climate of that area. While Fairbanks, Alaska is very cold, Miami, Florida will still be very warm. This weather pattern is established over a long period of time, and once averaged out becomes the climate in that area.